Hello, guys. Welcome back to the Evergreen Rx. I'm your host, Hayden, licensed mental health therapist, Cancer Moon, and the first to get deep at any party. And I'm going to keep saying this for a little while, but we're mixing it up on the pod. If you guys have listened to the past couple episodes, then you're down with it, you're familiar. But if you're new here, welcome. I'm very excited to have you, and I'm excited to have you for this new chapter of the podcast. But yeah, basically, I'm here to answer your questions, to have discussions, and to really get to utilize our tools, our own, healing journey, my own healing journey, and my journey as a therapist to figure out our own prescriptions for living well, to figure out how we navigate and ebb and flow and change and meet each new scenario in our life with greater compassion, with more resourcing, with more resiliency, blah, 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 blah. So I have a whole toolbox of 3 seasons of episodes and so many fantastic guests that you can go back and listen to if there's a topic you want to hear a deep dive on. I'll continue adding to that toolbox over time as well, but also incorporating these little Dear Evergreen episodes and listening or answering one of your questions. So if you want to ask me a question, please reach out at the evergreenrx@gmail.com, or you could call or text my hotline, 512-655-9888, and let me know if you want to remain anonymous or not. Ask me your question. What dilemma are you facing? What are you trying to figure out in your own healing journey? And then I can discuss it here, and then you can get back to me, and then we can just keep it going and help each other out and continue to build the community of the Evergreen Rx, because that's the most important part to me, really. So as my little disclaimer, these are just my opinions. I don't have all the facts or info about your life. And I certainly don't have all the answers. So this is just take what you want, leave what you don't. This doesn't constitute or replace therapy, guys. This is just the Evergreen Apothecary. We're creating our own prescriptions. We're working together. We're doing our best. And we are figuring out ways through life that is nuanced and aligned and fluid and totally customizable. So what works for each person is going to be different and variable. This is just a place to kind of learn and hear my thoughts and hear what other people are going through so that we can feel less alone and also hopefully have some good stuff to walk away from, to be able to approach whatever you're going through in your own life. Okay, so let's just dive into the question, shall we? Okay, this person says, Dear Evergreen, I spent years dreaming about moving to a city where no one knew me, building a life on my own terms, away from the expectations of my small hometown. And now I'm here. I got the apartment, the job, the fresh start I've always wanted, but I didn't expect the loneliness that came with it. I go to coffee shops alone, take long walks alone, eat dinner alone. Sometimes I love the quiet, but other times it's deafening. Ooh, don't I know that? I've tried putting myself out there, going to events, joining groups, but making deep connections as an adult feels impossible. I see people hanging out at parks, laughing in restaurants, and I wonder, how did they do it? How do they find their people? I don't regret moving, but I feel like I'm floating through my life instead of actually living it. How do I build a sense of belonging when I'm starting from scratch? Jeez, the $1 million question. I mean, oh my gosh, I don't know if there's anything more relatable than being in your 20s and trying to find your community or find your friends or find your people. I think I used to believe that I was much more alone in this than I actually am. And I think I hear that reflected in this question a little bit too. Like looking at other people and wondering like, how do they have each other? How do they find each other? Like, why does everybody seem to have these groups of friends and I don't? So that's the first place I want to start, I guess, because naturally it's coming up for me too, of feeling like everyone has their people. And I think that is false because, I mean, it has to be false, right? If this is one of the most relatable issues of this decade, then there's some misunderstanding or kind of there's some assumptions that are going on here that aren't fully correct, because I'm sure a lot of you listening, and like comment down below if you're listening and you're like, oh my God, I need to hear this answer. Like, if you clicked on this episode, based off the title, comment down below if you can, so that we can see that we're not, the only ones feeling this way. Because I think that there's a misaligned perception there that everybody has their people and we uniquely are experiencing this, but especially moving to a new city, which, I don't even have that experience, but moving to a new city, really you're starting from ground zero, from scratch. And so meeting a friend of a friend, like you can't really rely on that at this point. So just a lot of like, recognition of that, and also, I guess, relating to how this can be really challenging and bring up a lot of old stories and a lot of old feelings. I think that's a big thing that stuck out to me about this. This person talks about dreaming of moving to a city where no one knows them. So my guess is there's some desire there because of maybe past wounds around not belonging, being isolated, or being misunderstood. In a small hometown, maybe some part of your identity was disregarded or discriminated against. And so there can be wounds there around feeling like we fit in and feeling like we can find our people. And so, the thing is, we might imagine moving means we can just totally be fresh and oh my gosh, we can leave all that stuff behind. But the unfortunate thing is our problems come with us, or our wounds, they come with us. Maybe we're in a more accepting city, if that was something that we were dealing with not having before, which is great. But some of those old stories or that pain that maybe prompted the desire to move, it still comes with us. I think that there can be this is an oversimplification, but there can be kind of two main approaches, based off of attachment styles, where there are those of us that might be in difficult situations and we have more of a tendency to hunker down, to just try to stick it out, to remain loyal to people, to try to make it work, to accept less than what we deserve, and to just kind of deal with the anxiety and the distress that comes with that. And then there can be the other camp where there's more of a tendency to run or to flee, to try to leave all that behind, because if we could just have a fresh start, then we won't have to deal with the same things we were dealing with. And so that can be a piece here. If we found that maybe there were some things we were fleeing that we're still facing in this new setting, that can be kind of the little kick in the butt to face it head on. And so while I think that there is behavioral stuff here, things that we can do to get out and meet people, which sounds like this person is doing, going to events and joining groups, there's also deeper stuff. So that might be where we're running into the issue of making deep connections as an adult. It feels impossible, they say. I hear the comparison, I hear the desire for friends, the comparison, it looks like everybody has them, and also some of the wounding around our ability to belong or to make these kinds of relationships. So attacking some of that stuff head on, we can find that we might bring a different energy when we are meeting people, or even just out at a coffee shop or something. If you're going to these groups and events and you're meeting people, but it doesn't feel like it's going anywhere, or it's kind of hard to open up and to really build that intimacy through being vulnerable and through taking risks, then, that might be part of what could be holding you back from really feeling those deep connections. And it could be less of an issue of meeting people and more of an issue of actually initiating or continuing on the initial connection, past just that one moment, which we know we really have to do to continue to build relationships. It takes time, it takes repetition to build a relationship with someone. So as much as I could throw out, I think I'm like mentally kind of at a crossroads right now because I could throw out a lot of, advice on how to meet people, like what a friendship takes. But I think there's a lot of people out there that do that. And also, I'd be lying if I said I had like the keys to meeting the right people or finding your group, because honestly, this is something I'm doing right now in my own life and in the city, mind you, that I grew up in. So I have some roots here, I have some foundation here, and I'm still doing this too. So I'd hate to say that there's some like, real step-by-step process, because also I feel like this person, like, they are doing some of the things that I think we have to do in these situations. And instead, I think focusing on internal things that we can be doing in the meantime can be helpful, because we also don't get to control the timing of these things. You just moved to a new city. It takes a little while to even like figure out like where the people are at, like what the vibe of the city is. So it takes time, and we don't get control over that timeline or when the right people come into our life, from like a universal perspective. If you're wanting to call these people in, like, we don't really get to control when that happens. And the more that we can kind of loosen our grip on the wheel, usually the more energy that we open up to, bringing people in, because we're not gripping so hard onto trying to make something happen. So what we can do in the interim, while we continue to go to those parks, go to the coffee shops, like, join a gym, go to places frequently so that you could maybe run into some regulars. Like, while we continue to do that, we can also work with some of the deeper layers. One of the things I heard is like building a sense of belonging, and that made me think of this really wonderful book by Vienna Farron called The Origins of You. You guys maybe have heard of this, but she talks about a lot of different types of wounds, and one of them is the belonging wound. She basically lays out some of the ways that we can develop this wound and how we can cope with it, either by, rejecting belonging entirely, or by kind of shaping ourselves, adapting to try to fit the mold that's given to us, to fit into the system by changing yourself, which both of these are just going to lead to a sense of, unfulfillment. Is that a word? I don't know. And what she proposes is really the path of authenticity. So this might look like in that new city you're in, if you don't like to go out to bars, don't try to go out to bars to meet people. That might not be the best way to meet the kind of people that are going to be aligned for you. Don't engage with things that are in direct conflict to your vision. So figure out what it is, what kind of group or friendships. Maybe it's just one or two close friends that you're seeking, and then see what aligns with that vision, and try not to spend so much time doing things that are in direct conflict. Maybe you have some friends that you're still talking to back from your hometown because you just don't want the loneliness, but they drain you and you feel criticized, or it feels like there's no, there isn't alignment there anymore. I'm not saying dive head first into deep, unbearable loneliness, but maybe clear some of those friendships out to make some more space for the new people that you want to bring in. Instead of calling that person on Friday night, you go and try a new restaurant, and you keep your peepers open, and you kind of are looking around, or maybe you sit at the bar seat so you could strike up a conversation. Like doing things that do feel aligned for you. And also why I brought this book in is because, I'm not going to cop all her work. I actually want to have her on the pod one day. So Vienna, if you find this, I'd love to have you and we can deep dive on it. But in this book, there is, more guidance on how to work with some of these deeper wounds, if there is one there, so that we can show up more authentically and bring an open and fun and unique energy to our interactions that really help gravitate people towards us, and also can help in creating a sense of like familiarity and friendship off the bat, because we're just showing up so real and with a real open heart. And the thing is, dear listener, the thing is, it's tough. Aren't you glad you're listening to this podcast? No, the thing is, it is tough. Like, we're living in a loneliness epidemic, blah, 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 blah. Everybody says that. I know. We all know it, but we don't want it to be true. And yet it is. And so, you know, doing what you can to take care of yourself when you're feeling lonely, when you're feeling like you're not quite where you want to be yet in your relationships. Being gentle with yourself. Sometimes you might be down to go out and have that solo dinner and like keep your eyes open for potential friends, and sometimes you won't, and you'll just want to stay at home, and yeah, maybe you're feeling lonely, but you get to watch your favorite show and take a bath and just like take it easy, take your mind off things for a little bit. I think that part about loving the quiet, but sometimes it feeling deafening, I can definitely relate to that. I mean, sometimes my thoughts just get way too loud when I'm with myself, and that's, you know, I just have time to just let that, you know, program run, and my mind is just going without interruption. And so there is a time and a place for some healthy distraction. Just put on a movie, like, or read a really amazing book and let your brain just take some space. Maybe you're not with other people. The book characters and the movie characters, they're not real, they're not with you, but maybe it kind of feels like they are for a little bit, and you can listen to their stories and dive into their worlds, and it helps remove you from being so constantly fixated on your own world and your own internal dialogue that can soften when we have friends in our life. You know, usually that naturally is alleviated a little bit when we have people that we're talking to and we're engaging with. And if you're in that in-between space, then seeing like, is there a way to kind of mimic that feeling before you have it with real, you know, tangible friends yet. Because they'll come. You're doing all the right things. You're asking the right questions. It's a matter of time. It's a matter of healing. If there is anything that's kind of keeping us guarded, keeping us from a sense of safety, of being able to take the risk to reach out to someone, you know, that you met at the coffee shop, or to ask them, hey, can we exchange numbers, girl? You know, that takes risk. And so we have to feel fortified to be able to do that. So yeah, there's no cut and dry answer here. There's no genius solution I have to offer you. I think sometimes, you know, if I try to imagine myself listening to this and what I would want to hear, you know, one, it's kind of hard because I'm like, girl, I already know everything you know. But really, if I was listening to this, I think I would just want to hear that there's nothing wrong with you. There's no magic bullet that you're missing. There are friends out there that are dying to be your friend too. Even if that feels really hard to believe right now when you're really in that lonely place. But you are exactly who you should be and as you should be. And there are people that are going to vibe with that and are going to gel with that. And it's going to feel easy and it's going to feel fun. And yeah, I think I would want to hear that and then believe it. Really, really work on believing it and having faith. Hopefully that gives you a little something to take with you. And if you have more questions like this or any question that you want to ask and potentially hear in a future episode, reach out to me at the evergreenrx@gmail.com or text or call me at 512-655-988. And I will look forward to hearing from you. Just let me know if you'd like to remain anonymous. And yeah, let me know what your tips are for finding people, for creating that sense of belonging, whether you're in a new city or in the same city and all your friends have just moved away or grown apart. Because I would love to hear that too. And yeah, take care. I'll talk to you guys next week. Bye.